Copy! Where is it? Policeman! Eddie, wait!
He has got shit, you zero. Get no. They're not strong enough.
Seconds.
This is the next stage.
Thanks for sticking by me, Annie.
What is that?
File them up in the corner.
Why would we do that?
Dude, how did you do that?
Apparently.
Symbiote, connecting you to the feed now.
He's achieved symbiosis. You're seeing? Please bring me back.
You're not even here, are you?
Sight.
You have a brain tumor.
He's in the alley behind the Schuler building.
I'm sorry.
Are armed and ready. Launch the drone.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Oh, power off!
All ground vehicles move in. Target is now eastbound on...
Oh, we got more friends. Awesome. Dead ends.
Not for us.
I am going to die. Oh, that was pretty cool.
Welcome to DP Action channel. Please subscribe and press the bell icon. the Marvel comic book character Spider-Man has faced off against villainous bad guys, some of which became his classic archenemies supervillains including the Lizard, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, Rhino, and Mysterio. However, one of the most infamous foes that Spider-Man has come across is the vileness being known as Venom, an alien symbiote with an amorphous, liquid-like form that requires a host, usually a human, to bond with for its survival. While he has appeared in several other comics books within the Marvel Comics franchise, Venom is commonly associated with Spider-Man, with Peter Parker being the first to merge with the alien parasite for a brief time before merging human Eddie Brock, its second and most infamous host in the Spider-Man lore. Of course, with the rise of superhero cinematic adventures that began in the early 2000s, Sony/Columbia Pictures began to producing theatrical feature films of Spider-Man, beginning back with 2002 single-quote Spider-Man that featured the acting talents of Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco. By 2007, the third installment titled Spider-Man 3 was released, which boasted the cinematic reveal of character Eddie Brock and the symbiote Venom pairing. Unfortunately, while the movie went on to become the highest-grossing film of the trilogy, grossing over $890 million at the worldwide box office, the movie faced mixed/average reviews from both critics and moviegoers, especially given how the character of Eddie Brock, played by actor Topher Grace, and how Venom was a bit underwhelming against the film's other two villains. These mixed reviews of the movie prompted Sony to cancel a fourth Spider-Man installment and instead reboot the franchise altogether with The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012 with a new cast, then cancel that reboot franchise until Disney and Sony made a licensing deal that would allow the character of Spider-Man to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with actor Tom Holland currently playing the role of Peter Parker. However, the character of Eddie Brock/Venom has remained in the dark cinematically since his 2007 debut. Now, Sony/Columbia Pictures and director Ruben Fleischer finally present a spin-off Spider-Man to feature Eddie Brock and his bonding with the symbiote in the movie titled Venom. Does this side story movie of focusing on one of Spider-Man's arch-nemesis do the comic book character justice, or is it simply a turd in the wind? The story living in San Francisco, Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy, is an investigative journalist, leading his own TV show on a news network, while enjoying a good even-keel life with his fiancée Anne Wing, Michelle Williams. However, Eddie betrays the trust of his fiancée and ignores specific instructions from his boss when he goes to interview business mogul/scientist Carlton Drake, Riz Ahmed, who is the CEO leader of the Life Foundation. As a result, Eddie is fired from his show, blacklisted from working in the journalism field, and, to make matters worse, Anne breaks up with him. Months later, Eddie is still down on his luck, unable to find a job or lead a fulfilling life until he's approached by Life Foundation scientist Dr. Doris Kurth, Jenny Slate, who explains that Drake has been experimenting with alien creatures he's called symbiotes. The symbiotes must bond with an earthen host in order to survive on the planet, as Drake plans to fuse symbiotes with humans as a way to survive in space. Though the symbiotes, more often than not, reject the human host and kills them. When Dr. Scarth sneaks Eddie into the Life Foundation's research faculty, one of the symbiotes named Venom bonds with Eddie and the pair help to keep each other alive. While Eddie struggles with the idea of his parasitic host, Drake soon discovers what Eddie has done, ordering men to hunt him down and take back what is rightfully his. However, unbeknownst to all of them, another symbiote named Riot has his own plans. The good/the bad. Of course, I've been a fan of Spider-Man. I wouldn't say that I'm a super die-hard fan that's more of X-Men comics and the Guardians of the Galaxy, but Everyone's Friendly Neighborhood is one of those characters that I remember vividly in my liking of all things comic book superheroes. Perhaps my best remembrance of Spider-Man came in the form of the 90s cartoon show That is Spider-Man, which introduced me to many of the web-slingers villains that Peter Parker faces, including the character of Eddie Brock and his symbiote counterpart of Venom. Naturally, as the Spider-Man movies and several other superhero films were being produced by in the 2000s era, I kept wondering if either the character of Eddie Brock or Venom would show in one of these films, which both did in 2007 single-quote Spider-Man 3. However, much like a lot of viewers out there, I thought that Brock/Venom's appearance in the movie was pretty blah, especially given the fact that he gets somewhat lost in the feature, showing up towards the tail end of the movie and being underwhelming to say the least. Plus, not bash his acting talents or anything like that, but I just felt that actor Topher Grace wasn't exactly the best fit for Eddie Brock and his iteration of Venom was less than desirable. There were other problems with Spider-Man 3, including the horrid dance number scene, but suffice to say that Venom's live-action cinematic debut received mediocre taste. Naturally, this brings me back to talking about Venom, the latest 2018 superhero movie from Sony Pictures. Much like what I said above, Venom's depiction in Spider-Man 3 wasn't the greatest, and none of the other live-action iterations, that is the two Amazing Spider-Man films, nor the current iteration of Spider-Man within the MCU, has ever hinted at a possible Venom storyline appearance. Of course, this is probably due to Sony Pictures' licensing agreement with Spider-Man, of which the movie Venom is being produced. Additionally, the film's buzz was certainly all over the internet, especially because Sony, was doing a full solo/origin feature on the character of Eddie Brock/Venom and not as just a main or supporting antagonist in a Spider-Man picture. Also, the casting of actor Tom Hardy as Brock/Venom piqued my interest. I also have to say that there was plenty of inherent hype for this movie, especially how the movie promised to be a faithful adaptation to the comic book character and how it would be different from the past iteration of Brock/Venom. Thus, I would have to say that I personally was looking forward to seeing this movie when it came out. However, the pre-release reviews for Venom have been less than desirable, citing that the feature lacked a consistent tone and a problematic script. Because of this, there's been a shadowy cloud of doubt on the Venom movie, with many expecting the movie to be a bomb. However, I'm always an optimist, so I went to see the film, hoping that the mixed and negative reviews for the movie were not all true. So, what did I think of Venom? Well, it wasn't as completely horrible as some of the early reviews were making it out to be. That being said, Venom, while never boring and with an incredibly solid performance from actor Tom Hardy, is a mixed bag that comes off as more flawed than wholesome. It still has bits of entertainment, but is too messy and thinly written in comparison to the superhero film endeavors of late. Venom is directed by Ruben Fleischer, whose previous directorial works includes films like 30 Minutes or Less, Zombieland, and Gangster Squad. Given his filmography background of several more comical pieces, Fleischer makes his superhero debut with Venom, crafting a feature that has a lot of fans out there, especially to see another iteration of Venom. To his credit, Fleischer succeeds on delivering a semi-intriguing cinematic feature that's full of superhero nuances that bolsters the movie with its action and its frenzy. Naturally, the movie's opening act is a bit boring, with the movie setting up events and various characters, but a little bit into the second act, the movie kicks into fast-paced/fast-moving with several action pieces, especially noticeable when Eddie and Venom are bonding together for the first time, which to me is the best sequence of the feature. In truth, Fleischer keeps events and the movie moving on a brisk pace, with the film clocking in at around 112 minutes long, 1 hour and 52 minutes. Thus, barring the first 20 minutes or so, Venom is a straightforward superhero movie that doesn't meander through unnecessary side stories, keeping the narrative on point by following Eddie Brock's cinematic journey. Additionally, Fleischer also benefits in approaching the movie by having the entire film surrounding the origin tale of Eddie Brock/Venom rather him being a somewhat side character in another character's movie. That is like what happened in Spider-Man 3. Thus, love it or hate it, Fleischer doesn't make a fast-paced/semi-entertaining movie for viewers who just want to switch the brains off for 2 hours. Want to switch the brain of the entire cast of Venom. The one who shines the best and literally carries the movie on his shoulders is actor Tom Hardy, who plays the film's protagonist character of Eddie Brock as well as voicing the parasitic symbiote Venom. While it's not exactly his most hard-hitting and dramatic role, Hardy, known for his roles in Inception, Warrior, and The Dark Knight Rises, does exceptionally work in the film, making the film very engaging and sometimes humorous in a role that he quite literally throws himself on. He has enough manly swagger about him to make the character of Eddie Brock interesting and fun, and it's quite interesting to see him go a bit bonkers when the symbiote known as Venom bonds with him. Plus, since Hardy provides the voiceover work for Venom, it's interesting to see the different facets between the two and how they have to work together. To be honest, Hardy literally, and I do mean it, carries the film on his shoulder in his performance, and it ultimately works. I mean, if there was any other actor that was cast in the role, I would have not liked the movie as much as I did, and I think many will agree with that. My only gripe is not so much on Hardy's acting talents in the movie. I loved him as Eddie/Venom, but on the fact that there was no Spider-Man in the movie. Yes, I do know that this was supposed to be different in its own thing as a standalone endeavor, or at least in Sony's Marvel universe. Needless to say, as I'm beating around the bush, it would have been cool to see Hardy's Eddie Brock/Venom clash with actor Tom Holland, the current Peter Parker/Spider-Man in the MCU. Who knows? Hopefully one day that could be a possibility. All in all, I think that Hardy's performance is definitely the major pillar of the feature, holding it up throughout all its missteps and miscues. Whatever you take away from Venom, good or bad, there's no denying that Hardy committed acting talents to the movie is superb. Plus, Hardy's Eddie Brock is 10 times better than actor Topher Grace's iteration of the same character in Spider-Man 3. Not to knock Grace's acting ability, but it's the truth, and I think many will agree to that. The other two major cast members behind Hardy's Eddie Brock/Venom are actress Michelle Williams and actor Riz Ahmed, who play Eddie Brock's ex-girlfriend Anne Wang and genius inventor and Life Foundation CEO Carlton Drake respectively. Williams, known for her roles in Manchester by the Sea, The Greatest Showman, and All the Money in the World, is a very talented actress and knows how to handle herself well when on screen. However, while her acting talents are fine in the movie, she just simply feels out of place in Venom. Her character gets a bit more to do than just the classic love interest in a superhero movie, but it's mostly how the character of Anne is written, and the clunky script dialogue is where she stumbles. To be honest, Anne Wang could have been played by any other actress out there, as Williams doesn't make the character her own. Don't get me wrong, I love Williams as an actress, but Anne mostly comes off as a stock-like character, too stiff and rigid. It also doesn't help the fact that Hardy and Williams have little to zero on-screen chemistry with each other, which makes the believability in Eddie and Anne's relationship almost non-existent and extremely hard to buy into too. I just didn't see them together at all, and Williams was simply a miscast. As for Ahmed, known for his roles in The Night Of, Jason Bourne, and Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, he gets the villainy down, but just ends up being a generic megalomaniac business/inventor. Much like Williams, his acting is fine, but the character of Carlton Drake is too cookie-cutter and doesn't really bring anything new to the role of a villain in a superhero feature. In both cases, Anne and Drake, the writing could have been so much better and could have elevated the characters to be more memorable. Unfortunately, the script is too thinly written and clunky to do so, despite Williams and Ahmed trying their best to work with what material is given to them. In the end, both of these characters are forgettable, despite their importance to the story in both plot and character development. The rest of the cast are in more minor supporting roles, including actress Jenny Slate Zootopia and gifted as Life Foundation Dr. Doris Kurth, actor Reed Scott Veep and Turbo Fast as Anne's new boyfriend Dr. Dan Lewis, actor Scott Hayes, Child God and Midnight Special as Drake's head of security Roland Treese, actress Peggy Lou Awkward in Animal Kingdom as Mrs. Chen, and actor Emilio Rivera, Sons of Anarchy and Myanmar as security lobby guard Richard. As I said, most of these characters are minor supporting roles to the movie's narrative throughout the film, but at least all of them give solid performance in their respective roles. Lastly, much like a lot of comic book superhero movies of late, Venom does have two post-credit scenes, with one mid-credit and the other after the movie credits have finished. While I won't spoil it, the first one sets up events for a future installment if one does get greenlit, while the other is more of a sneak peek at an upcoming and highly anticipated comic book movie. However, this sneak peek has really nothing to do with the Venom movie and is probably attached to this film because of the fact that both movies are being released by both Sony Pictures. Final thoughts: the world has enough superheroes and it's time to embrace you inner anti-hero in the new movie Venom. Director Ruben Fleischer's latest film sees the iconic Spider-Man villain in his own feature-length movie, showcasing the origins of the character and how he pairs with Eddie, who, in turn, must come to grips with this alien parasite living inside him. While the movie has some humorous dark humor pieces, a brisk runtime that mostly keeps the entertainment level afloat, and a full committed performance from actor Tom Hardy, who again carries the movie on his shoulders, the film can't escape its dated/derived nature, especially when examining its thinly written story, its lazy script, its clunky/wooden dialogue, some effigy sequences, and a weak villain and love interest. Personally, I thought this movie was just okay, but more towards the lower end of being spectrum. It's not as terrible or as horrible as some of the critics and reviewers are making it out to be, that is citing that Venom is the equivalent to 2004 single quote-s Catwoman in terms of being bad film, but the movie never truly lives up to its own inherent hype, especially when considering the current landscape, or filmscape if you will, on today's superhero features. Definitely could have been better. Thus, my recommendation for Venom is decisive iffy choice, as some will love it, while others will hate it, and some lingering in the middle of the two, including myself. This is definitely gonna be a movie that will many out there spilled on the overall likability of the feature. With that notion, it will be interesting to see how Venom will ultimately play out at the box office and if it receives a sizable return, if a Venom sequel will be greenlit by Sony Pictures. Again, it's too early to say. For now, Venom is a messy superhero movie that's undoubtedly flawed, but carries that so bad it's good vibe. Thanks for watching.